So as we continue to move into managing personal finances, this gets into costs and advantages of home ownership. So purchasing your home. So this is going to give us a little bit of an idea of what it takes to purchase a home and the advantages of actually being a homeowner. So a little bit of an overview. Owning a home is one of the largest financial decisions a person ever makes. I haven't gone through the process too much myself. Uh, so I bought a I bought my first house in my 30s and I lived in it all the pretty much rest of my life, and then I finally sold it. But I didn't have to buy another home. The person I married, she already had a home, so I didn't have to get into that again. So but I do know that it's a lot of hassle, a lot of headaches, a lot of nervousness, a lot of anxiety in looking and trying to find that that perfect home. So it's a good idea to just make sure when you get into homes, get a lot of education, get a lot of research, ask a lot of friends about what you're looking for in purchasing a home. As I said, it is probably the largest financial decision anybody makes. So for us, we're just going to talk about some of the mathematical points of this. So in talking about mathematically, we have what's called upfront cost, ongoing cost, and the long-term beneficial benefits using concepts like interest rates, loan amortization, equity, taxes, and inflation. So those all go into home ownership. Nice thing about homes is usually when you purchase a home, its value usually goes up. That's the concept of inflation. So upfront costs, usually you'll have to make a down payment. The better your down payment, you can avoid other types of fees, if you will. So typically 3 to 20% of the purchase price is a good idea. My rule was 10%. I want to be able to put 10% down on my house when I purchased it. That could change now because prices are so high. So again, how much you put down will affect how big of a loan you take out and the monthly payments. And that's the big thing is you want a monthly payment that is actually affordable. That's the challenge. The other thing we have going on is when you purchase a home, there's what's called closing costs. Usually that's 2 to 5% of the home price. So this is where we get into all the lawyer talk to make sure it's free and clear and is yours. So they have to do a lot of work to make sure that there's nothing going on with the house that you purchase. So we have what's called loan origination fees, appraisal fees, title insurance, attorney fees. So this can vary based on who you do uh, purchase uh, your loan with, what loan organization is involved. Inspection fees, paid to evaluate the home's condition. So, there's a lot of when you purchase a home, who pays these fees? Sometimes you could force the homeowner to do it, but typically the homeowner tells the buyer, if you want it inspected, you pay the fees to have it inspected. So very rarely does the buyer get away without not doing that. So those are some of the upfront costs. Mortgage payment. So the big thing about a mortgage payment is there's what's called the principal, the portion reducing your loan balance. So what you owe in the house, that's the principal. But what happens is there's interest that is accrued. So in your mortgage payment, it's also going to include the principal, but it's also going to include the interest. And it could involve your taxes. Usually they're escrowed in your monthly thing as well because property taxes are so high. A lot of times we just have that built into our monthly payment of our house. Homeowners insurance, that's nothing. You have to have house insurance to protect against damage. And then mortgage insurance. So it's required with small down payments. If you put less than 20% down, that's where that percent comes in. A lot of times if you don't put over 20% or more down, then you have to pay this additional fee, what's called mortgage insurance. Also, if you own a home, you're required to maintain and repair it. So you have to budget for this. Routine maintenance, lawn care, HVAC servicing. You definitely want to make sure you keep your air conditioner and heating uh, service. So it's not a bad idea to have them come out and look at it every once in a while. Of course, there's unexpected repairs, roof replacement, plumbing issues. My luck's always been those two. I've had poor luck with roofs and plumbing. There's a rule of thumb, 1% of the home's value per year should be set aside for maintenance if you're trying to talk about budgeting. So whatever your home's value is, 1% would be a good thing to take aside there. Depending on where you purchase, you may have what we call home association fees. So special communities require that. Other things you have to pay regularly is utilities and additional costs. So a lot of times you have to pay for water and sewage, trash service, heating and cooling, appliances and renovations. Those are all usually things that come up. So the advantages of owning a home, building equity. Unlike renting, equity is something that you get out of a home. Another thing that's very powerful is you have control of those monthly payments for a long time. If you have a fixed mortgage rate, then you know what you're going to be paying monthly. So you're not going to have somebody that's renting to you, uh, or if you're buying from a renter, if you will, they sometimes will move how much you pay monthly for your housing. But nice thing about a home is you know what your monthly payment's going to be for quite a long time. Nice thing also about owning a home is you have control. You are the landlord, so you don't have to deal with landlord restrictions. So there are some psychological and community benefits. Owning a home, you have stability, that sense of ownership, there's pride in that. And of course, if you own a home, you kind of build a community, a long-term community connection. Because usually if you buy a home, for many of us, you're living in it for many, many years. So even though these aren't mathematical, they are powerful influences in purchasing a home. So let's move into the question part of this.